Another successful signing day at Kennesaw State. We're joined by head football coach Brian Bohannon to dissect this signing day class. Coach, to begin with, a signing period, a signing day, a recruiting process, unlike any other. I know there were difficulties. What made this year so different for having to put together a class in 2020 compared to every year before?
Yeah, obviously very different. We are very in-person oriented staff and program, and everything we like to do is going to have that personal feel to it. And obviously, in the times we're in, there was none of that. Our staff did a great job. Coach Klein, our recruiting coordinator, and our staff, we put together, a virtual tour that really encompassed who we are and the personal interactions that we would like to have. And I think it really captured everything about who we are as best you can, without bringing a young man and his family to campus, going to a young man's home and visiting with them, which are the things that we really missed in this recruiting cycle. But we did the best with what we had, and I thought we had a really good plan and had a very good way to go about showing our university, and more importantly, who we are as people, that a young man's going to go spend the next 4 or 5 years with, which I think is probably the most important thing that sometimes is hard to do when you can't have face-to-face interaction. So, it's wild. I mean, we're sitting here and nobody's been on the road and nobody's been out recruiting. No kids are on campus. I mean, it's different now. I mean, everything's been very different. But I tell you what, just like we tell our kids, you can't let the circumstances, change what we got to get done. So we found a way. Our staff did a great job, and we signed a heck of a class today.
What do you think makes this class stand out compared to classes before?
Well, I think when you look at this group, I mean, obviously, we touched about every position, and that was something we had numbers we were looking at. One thing we've tried to do here is get a little bigger up front, and you see it. You got a couple big offensive linemen that can, when they get their hands on folks, they do some good things. You got a couple D linemen that are the same way, athletic, fast, but a little bit bigger. Every year we've tried to get a little bit bigger and not compromise, the athleticism and speed we want to have in our program. And then when you start looking at the skill positions, I mean, we're about speed here. And I think when you turn the tape on, at just about every skill position, that's what you're going to see. And we were able to sign some kids today that maybe because of circumstances we were able to sign. And I think sometimes you look at these times we're in, and I told our coaching staff a while back, I said, we're going to make this negative a positive for us in recruiting. Meaning the times we're in, we're going to go take advantage of this and go find some kids that fit us, that maybe because of other things going on, maybe we were able to recruit this year that maybe we couldn't recruit it another year. So I think you look at speed and athleticism, which when you start looking at every kid skill position especially, and I think we've continued to get a little bigger up front on both sides of the ball. So those are some things we've worked on. I think we hit on. We still got some spots left out there that we'll work on as we move to the next signing period. But I think today was a success, no question. It's a heck of a group of kids, and we're excited about them.
Coach, a question that fans want to know is, how does spring eligibility work for those that will enroll at KSU in January, with our season starting late February?
Yeah. So a unique situation we're in. We had fall practice, and now we're going to have a spring season. So basically, to make it really simple, if a young man competed and played in the fall, he is not eligible to compete and play in the spring. So, we may have a kid that enrolls early, but he's not eligible to play. We could have a kid that enrolls early that is eligible to play. It's all going to be based on, did they play in the fall? And that's the NCAA, the way they, with all the different rules that have been put out and changes, that's the bottom line. So, we got a young man that signed with us from Georgia Southern, but he played a lot this fall for them, was a really good player. He won't be able to play this spring, but he'll be obviously eligible to play next fall. So, which we would normally take kids like that in a normal year. I hate to even use normal anymore, Nolan, because I don't really know what normal is. But so that's the way the thing unfolds as far as eligibility in the spring.
Well, Coach, let's break down this class position by position. And starting out, a question not necessarily of who, but how. We kicked off signing day with an Australian signee, the first international signee in Kennesaw State football history, Hazel Polkingborn. I think I got that name right. Not necessarily who, but how did he come about?
Yeah, and I believe, and Coach Klein can dive into this a little more. I mean, I think it was just an email sent out, and so Coach Klein and I both have had a history. When we were at Georgia Tech, we had a young man from Australia come in and was a really good player. So this kid comes in, and I think Coach Klein starts checking into it, and we've had some different people we were able to communicate with that know a little bit about Australian football because of our experience we had down at Tech. You watch the kid, and I mean, much less his football highlights, turn on his rugby highlights. I mean, it's impressive.
Bulldozer.
You're talking about a big old dude that can runs over people, he's athletic. And then you get on, and so Coach Klein, I give him all the credit. He went through the process, and then we start to get to know the family. And man, what a great kid, a great family. He's so appreciative of the opportunity, So it was just one of those things that came in, and Coach Klein kind of took a hold of it, and we worked our way through it, and it was a great fit. And the kid's been just ecstatic about coming here. We had to check with we've never dealt with an international football player. I mean, it's like you said, this is we're about making history here, and we did it again today. So we're having to check with all the other sports and everybody how they manage international students, because we didn't know. But I mean, we're fired up about him. I think he's his upside is phenomenal. Those big kids that can run and can hit, and so we're excited about that. And it's a first for us. So, but again, sometimes the times you're in puts you in a position to do some things that maybe we would have, maybe we wouldn't have. I don't know.
I mean, there's a year to go out in Australia for a signee. It's 2020, right?
Because there's no difference in recruiting a kid from Australia as a kid from down the street right now. Because we're on a Zoom call with that kid just like we are the kid down the street, because we're not going anywhere. We can't go anywhere. They can't come here. So, again, the circumstances kind of, and again, I think it's something that would be perceived as a negative, but I think we took it and made it positive out of it. And I give our staff a lot of credit for that.
Well, Coach, you did have to go down the street, didn't have to go to Australia to find another defensive lineman, Watkins out of Tequila. He played both ways, and you spoke earlier, you put on a highlight tape of these linemen. They get after it.
Yeah. Well, it's something we've said. Listen, all the skilled guys are going to get their name in the paper, for the stuff. But at the end of the day, if you can get the right guys up front, that's where you're going to have a chance to win the quarterfinal game, to win the semifinal game, to progress the program. And Adam's a heck of a player. He plays both ways. He's a great kid, smart kid. So we're excited about what he can do. A lot of punch, a lot of quickness. And he's another big body that's going to grow as he gets here. So we're awful excited about him as well.
Behind him in the linebacker spot, speaking of winning semifinals and quarterfinals, you went down to Irwin County. You got twins. You got a linebacker, Garland Vineyard. Wow, he finds the ball, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. And, he's one of those guys, he looks like a Sam linebacker where Bryson Armstrong's playing now. You see him come off the edge, really can run, flexible, always in the backfield, always wreaking havoc. He's got so much room to grow. We're awful excited about him. He's going to be a heck of a player for us. And, we got two inside linebackers and outside, and we're going to bring him in and find the best place for him to help us win ball games. So we're excited about Garland.
Bolstered your secondary, too. A couple of strong signees. You mentioned a transfer earlier, Javon Singletary out of Georgia Southern, and then a prospect out of Atlanta, DeAndre Morris.
Yeah. DeAndre's one of those guys that does a ton for his team. I mean, he was playing a little bit of everything. We love those multi-positional guys that do a ton. Like, they don't ever come off the field, and those are, that's just something we've always tried to sign guys like that. But he's a heck of a player, heck of an athlete. We're excited about him at the safety position. He can come in there and help us for sure. So we're awful excited about DeAndre and love the fact he does a ton, man. He can, He's great with the ball in his hands. He's great on the other side. I mean, he's just a really, really, really good athlete.
Let's flip it over to the offensive side. He signed a quarterback this year out of Dutchtown High School. Had a lot of offers. He chose Kennesaw State. What does he bring to the team?
Great leader, great charisma, great just presence. When you get on a call with him, you just feel like, all right, this is a guy that can go lead your program. And I think in that position, you got to have that. Coach's son understands the game, tough, physical, can throw the ball. Really, he checks all the boxes for what we're trying to get accomplished here. So he made his decision early. He's actually enrolling early, so we're awful excited about him.
He gets to hand the ball, toss the ball, pitch the ball to a couple of running backs. Quandarius out of Buchholz High School, I believe, in Gainesville, Florida, scored 18 touchdowns. He can find the end zone. Yeah. And then the other twin, Garland Vineyard out of Irwin County, won a state title last year for the Indians. I mean, made plays offense and defense. You've got two explosive running backs coming in.
Those kids are dynamic. I mean, both of them with the ball in their hands at any moment can score. I don't know that you'll find two more dynamic kids, around right now. And those kids are special. Quan's we're gonna put him at the two-back position. He's athletic enough to play slot as well, but we're gonna put him at two-back. Gabriel's gonna be a slot for us. But both those guys, man, they can flat make plays. They're tough. They're physical. I mean, you look at Gabriel, some of his highlights on the other side, he's coming up and he's striking some licks. And Quan, in the same token, he'll lower his shoulder and run over folks. So they're tough, they're athletic, but they can run, Nolan. Both those guys can ride. Now they can go.
And then you bring speed on the outside. Dominic Marshall, leading receiver out of Lowndes High School down in Valdosta. If anyone knows high school football, Lowndes is a strong program, and he's led the Vikings in just about every receiving category.
Yeah, heck of a player. Great kid. Had a great conversation with him the other night. Boy, I just enjoyed his the way he carried himself, the way he goes about his business. And you talk about it, Lowndes is still playing. Irwin County's still playing. You got all these teams that are competing for championships, as we speak right now. But he's a big physical receiver that's really good he's got great ball skills, can really run. He really fits the mold of what we look for in a wideout here.
Well, winners continue. Last but not least, up front on the offensive line, Jordan Love out of the Sunshine State, Rockledge High School, state runner-up. Pancake after pancake in his highlight reel, and then William Calhoun's trying to take GAC to a state title. Same thing. I mean, you look at their huddle film, it's not just one knockdown. They get to the second level and they knock down the linebacker, then they go for that safety too.
Yeah, no doubt. Jordan's a big physical guy. He's a weight room guy. He loves the weight room. Physical, tough. When he gets his hands on it, you said it. And he's probably, I don't know how much he weighs right now, but he'll start at offensive tackle for us. But he is going to be a big physical offensive tackle. And then Williams the same way. He's going to be a guard for us. But you said it when you turn the tape on, they're finishing on top of folks on a regular basis. So those guys are both, we're excited about them. I mean, they're both big physical linemen. I think the big part is what we've tried to upgrade a little bit. And both those guys fit that. And they're athletic. Well, they're not just big, but they're athletic. So, Jordan and William both, we're excited about both those guys. I think they're gonna really help us up front a ton.
Well, Coach, it's been a long year. Congratulations to you and your staff on wrapping up a successful National Signing Day, a fantastic recruiting class. What's ahead over the Christmas and holiday season for the Bohannons?
Well, thank you first of all, but I also want to say to our staff what a great job they did when we had to reset, figure out a way to be virtual. I mean, all the moving parts that have gone into this, I got to give our staff a ton of credit. Coach Klein's our recruiting coordinator. He led all this, and they've done a great job because a lot of that's been on them. They're having to FaceTime, Zoom calls. It's just different. So I give them a lot of credit, and also appreciative of everybody here and the support they've had and the stuff you guys put out to promote our program, Nolan and David and all the guys involved. Really has been phenomenal. We didn't break stride during the pandemic. We kept going, we kept working, and kept putting out a product that young men could see out there. So I think that's very impactful. As far as me over the break, it's been kind of weird. Normally you're physically and mentally exhausted at this time. I think more mentally exhausted at this time simply just because of everything that's going on. So we'll reset, take a break, hang out with the family a little bit, and we'll come back in January and get ready for a spring season. At the same time, we'll finish off our recruiting class, and then hopefully after that, we'll start to get back to quote unquote a little bit of normalcy.
Well, Coach, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and we'll see you in January for preseason practice.
Sounds good. Thanks, Nolan.